All right. Peter Pappas with the Brevard Compass team is joining us today, and he is going to tell us all about what is going on along the Space Coast in terms of real estate sales and things that we should know if we are interested in tracking what's going on here on the Space Coast. What is going on? All right. So, Peter, I want to start off by asking you a question about what you think is different in the real estate market today along the Space Coast compared to, say, even 6 months ago.
Okay, that's an excellent question. So I'd like to talk about like the president's State of the Union address. You know how he always starts off by saying, the State of the Union is strong or the State of the Union is so and so. Well, I'd like to say the State of the Union for Brevard real estate is strong. Yes, our numbers are down from last year. Everything's a little softer, but that's just going to happen when you have 2 years of record growth and 2 years of craziness that will probably never ever be repeated. And it's natural for things to come back down to earth. But as far as like housing stats that we see on TV or the experts on CNBC will start spewing, that they're national stats. So when you're seeing things that are doom and gloom, that's not necessarily the same thing for Brevard County. It doesn't really affect us quite the same way. I remember in 2008, I was living in New Jersey, and I remember the housing collapse happened, and Brevard was devastated. But where I was in New Jersey was not affected at all. In fact, housing continued to grow. It was
Really?
quite healthy. So in that regard, New Jersey was not affected, whereas Brevard was devastated. And actually, it's kind of flip-flopped. Now you're seeing a lot of people leaving New Jersey and coming in droves to Brevard County. And that growth that is being fueled by people in the north moving down here for work, or just they're over the high taxes, the property taxes that are in those northern states. That's going to be fueling a lot of new development and a lot of new housing. And for the next few years, it's not going to be just for the next few months. So I feel like we're going to have a lot of continued growth. Yes, inventory is down. Yes, it's a little more challenging. Houses are probably sitting on the market a few more days or even months than they were a year ago. But that's just to be expected. That's a normal housing market. So for realtors that worked before 2020, this is just status quo. It's healthy. It's a good thing.
Right. I like that you said healthy because I agree with you that I think that this is still healthy. A lot of people are still thinking back to what things looked like in 2020, 2021, and even parts of 2022. And I feel like those were periods of time that were unique and there was a season for it, but that season's passed and we've gone back to a more normalized market, even in terms of mortgage lending. A lot of people got into the business then, they made their money, and they realized that they really didn't have the passion and the heart to do it when it matters, right? They were there for the quick buck. So I agree with you. We're back in a normal market. I think it's a great real estate market here in Brevard along the Space Coast. What do you have to say about our inventory numbers and our sales prices when compared to the rest of the country? Because I keep seeing stuff come back from NAR, the National Association of Realtors, that says nationwide we're seeing huge inventory shortages and we're seeing like just decline after decline, month after month in home values. Are we seeing a similar steep decline here in Brevard?
Well, inventory is we'd love more inventory, but as far as a steep decline in prices, no. In fact, prices are still going up, just not astronomically.
Sure.
In the normal market, you're going to see housing go up maybe 2 to 5% a year. Whereas, last year, I think it was 35%, which is just never probably going to happen again. And in the case of Brevard, I feel like Brevard needed to catch up a little bit. I mean, a lot of the housing was undervalued, and that's why you're seeing so many people. Our mentor here at Compass, Dwayne Carpenter, he just gave us a stat the other day. It said, believe it or not, the number one group moving to Brevard County is not necessarily from the north. It's people from South Florida. So, yeah, I mean, they see that it's cheaper to live here, and a lot of them are moving here.
Wow. Yeah, that kind of surprises me too. If you would ask me where the majority of people moving to Brevard are coming from, I would have assumed that it was northern states or maybe out west.
Right. Yeah. So no. Yes, we could use more inventory. Who wouldn't want that? But what we do have out there is selling. So, like I said, I feel like it's a very healthy market. I've had a few listings so far for Q1, and out of the 4 that I've listed so far, 3 sold right away. 1 the first weekend, and the 4th one is sitting a little bit, but that's just to be expected. And there's different parts of Brevard that are moving. Housing is moving a lot quicker in certain areas than it is. You'll see stuff sit a little bit more in some of the higher priced areas now, where they were selling pretty quickly too about a year ago.
Right. It's not sustainable to have that 35% growth every year. Could you imagine if that kept up?
No, yeah, it's definitely not sustainable, because then nobody would be able to afford to live here.
Exactly. That's awesome. So I know that you have recently joined the Compass team. What about Compass attracted you to go there, to bring, you're already a very successful career, and, partner and align yourself with Compass?
It's funny because I kind of resisted the move initially because I didn't know exactly what Compass was, but it's really an incredible real estate company that's technology based, and the technology that they give us as realtors is something that I've never even imagined I could have these tools, basically. And as far as marketing goes, I always considered myself a great marketing realtor, and I love putting myself out there. And I now have so many more tools that I can use while I'm out there. And as far as a market like this is, even though we're talking about that, how we think Brevard has got a healthy real estate market, but it is technically a little scary for a lot of us in the industry because it's different. So you don't know. None of us have a crystal ball what's going to happen tomorrow or even 6 months down the road. But I do feel like everything's going to be just fine, and everything is relatively healthy and strong. But with that said, it's created an opportunity for realtors that do feel like I do and do feel like there's opportunity out there to market themselves and to grow. I was recently reading a study that said in markets such as this, where it's considered like a down year, a lot of realtors who had good years the previous year or were top producers or whatnot, they actually pull out of certain farms that they had been farming very heavily for years. And they stop marketing, they stop advertising. And when they do that, it presents an opportunity for people like me and other agents at Compass that are not afraid to go in there, market our farms, send mailers out, talk to people. And there's a lot of potential for, to have a record year in a market that's kind of flat. So that's another thing that really attracted me to Compass.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with you 100%. I've seen so many chances for new or less experienced real estate agents and brokers to kind of take some of that market share back, because a lot of people have kind of shied away from marketing and putting, money toward those sort of things now. And I think that's literally the opposite of what they should be doing, right? I mean, you're proof positive that if you continue to do what you've been doing and even step your game up a little bit more, that there is just a huge opportunity for you to gain more listings, talk to more buyers, and gain market share. And that's what Compass is all about. I know from talking with you. And I think it's really cool that you kind of align Compass as a technology company and real estate at the same time, because there's a lot of companies that talk about that, and I don't see that happening. But based on everything that I've seen from you and from the other friends that I have that work with Compass as well, it's an amazing opportunity for them to take what they're already doing and to just take it to the next level with some of the things that Compass offers. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah, thanks. I love it. I'm very happy. It's been a great move for me personally. I've never been busier. And part of it is Compass, and then another part is when you're working for the best, which I am right now, it elevates your game. It makes you want to be the best.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that same thing holds true with a lot of really awesome teams. If you think about like the Chicago Bulls, they were a great team, and then they added Jordan, they added Pippen, and that team that was doing pretty good, all of a sudden these two guys that were absolute rock stars come in, and the whole team suddenly is playing a lot better on that like back-to-back championship caliber level. So exactly, that's how that works, and that's just really cool.
Yeah. A rising tide lifts all boats. It's a cliche, but it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know you don't know what's going to happen over the course of the next 3 or 6 months, but based on your experience and everything that you've been managing and watching here in these markets, what do you think we can expect in Brevard County in the next 3 or 6 months in terms of continued growth with sales prices and people moving here and making this their community?
Okay, well, I can tell you that I know that there's a lot of people that still want to move here just because I talk to them every day. And I know a lot of that is going to depend on stuff that we can't control. The interest rates, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if they come down, that'll probably bring more people back into the market. But a lot of people, maybe 6 months ago when interest rates were rising for the first time, got scared.
Mm-hmm.
And what they had to do was wrap their head around the fact that, okay, well, these are the new rates. And a lot of people that have accepted that and now know that that's not going to keep housing from rising, because houses are still rising. The prices
Mm-hmm.
are still rising. So if you want to get into the market and you're just kind of like hoping that, okay, there's going to be a housing crash, or, okay, well, maybe there's interest rates are going to come down a point or two. Well, that's probably not going to happen. It's, I think it's definitely not going to happen, to be honest with you. So if you have the ability to buy a house and want to buy a house, the time is now. It's just, you have to buy the house that you can afford. You're not going to, get in over your head. And there's a lot of people that are very excited about the chance to buy a house this year, because probably interest rates will come down a little bit. You and I have talked about that in the past. You had given me the magic date of May 10th, I think is what you had said.
Yeah.
But where was I going? The danger with all of this is now we've had so many people sitting on the sidelines that when rates do come down, whether it's half a point or a point, or who knows where it'll land. But what's going to happen is a lot of people that have been sitting on the sidelines are going to flood the market, and all of a sudden, all that craziness we saw last year, where we had multiple offers and homes going well over ask when they probably shouldn't have been going well over ask, that might come back. Maybe not to the extent that we saw it last year, but that's a potential.
Yeah.
And that's not great for a buyer. So if you're a buyer and you want to buy right now, or if you're a seller and you want to get top dollar, then I suggest talking to a good realtor and hearing what they have to say and coming up with a game plan. And of course, get pre-approved by Nate Jomaa first.
Of course. It starts with a pre-approval with the Nate Jomaa Mortgage Team, always. Absolutely. So I agree with you 100%. I've said multiple times, in online and in interviews and different things that I've talked with people about, that there are people that are waiting on the sidelines right now, just waiting for rates to drop, waiting for sales prices to drop. And if and when that sort of stuff does happen, everybody that's on the sidelines is going to jump back into the game And then, just like you said, we're going to see the bidding wars again. We're going to see the way over ask price bids. And what happens when that happens is everybody pays more for these houses that they could get today. And so I did an analysis for somebody not too long ago, a guy that wanted to buy. We went over some things. I showed him that if in the event in 6 months, rates drop to a point where he wanted them to be for him to feel confident that he was making a good decision financially, by that time, the same house that he was looking at, assuming that it was still on the market or even pulled and then relisted, the price on that house would have made the decrease in rate almost a complete wash in terms of what his payment would have been, right? So the savings on that rate, waiting 6 months because of the appreciation and the sales price of that house, it almost wiped it completely. So even the people that think, well, I'm still going to play the game, I'm going to game the system somehow, some way, you have to remember, even if rates do come down, we're seeing that home values and sales prices are still on the incline. They're not going to go to the 35% like we talked about earlier, but they're still going up. So the longer you wait, the more expensive that house is going to become.
Absolutely. So you had, like I said, you had told me May 10th is the magic number. Why is that? Refresh my memory.
So there's significant Fed meetings on those days. Sorry, I keep hitting the mic. There's significant Fed meetings on May 10th. So on November 10th was the last time that we had this significant Fed meeting. And when that meeting took place, rates did take a sharp decline. And we had some great rates in comparison to the previous Novembers and so forth. So what's happening 6 months out now, we're back to that 6 month period, May 10th. We're going to see that rates are probably going to take a little bit of a downturn. That doesn't mean that you should wait until May 10th, because maybe I'm wrong. I definitely don't control the rates. And if I'm wrong, you can't blame me.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, we don't have a crystal ball. We can make educated guesses, and we use history sometimes to predict the future, but this is uncharted territory.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's tough to like really nail it down exactly. I will say this, I remember 2004, I bought my first home, and the year before, interest rates were 8%. And my brother had an 8% rate. And I remember I bought my home, I want to say it was 2004. It might have been 2005, whatever, somewhere around 2004 for sure. And I got a 6% rate. They had come down by two points in that year. And man, I thought I won the lottery. And now we're at 6%, and people think that, it's the end of the world. It's funny. It's all perception.
Exactly. I was going to use that word exactly. It's so funny because you're right. There's people that got the 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, over the past 18 to 24 months. And now those people are like, haha. But the reality is those rates were abnormally low, and we're probably not going to see rates in the 2s and 3s again. Maybe we'll get back down into the 4s, which is great. Maybe we're going to get back down into the 5s sooner than later. But those really, really low rates, those are like unicorn type things. So the rates that we have today are pretty normalized and pretty standard rates. When I bought my first house, it was in 2005. And I remember my rate was about 6.25. And that was a killer rate then. And now somebody gets 6.25 and they think, oh, I can't wait to refi.
For sure.
Yeah, it's absolutely perspective. And I think we're fortunate that we have the ability, to be able to provide these killer rates still today. And to your point earlier, I mean, there's still a lot of folks that are ready to move to Brevard County. There's still a lot of homes that can and will be sold over the next 24 months. And those that are working and making sure that they're staying in front of those people ready to list, and those buyers that are coming into town are going to be the ones that really are going to be able to reap the benefits of that. And those that are pulling back and waiting are going to be the ones that aren't.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, if you can take anything away from this discussion, it'd be if you want a new home, if you want to sell your home, there is no right time. It's what's right for you, what can you afford, and does it make sense for you?
Yep, exactly. All right, Peter. So in closing, I ask everybody that we talk to this one question. So I'm going to ask you this one question as well. If there's one thing that you would say that you just absolutely love about working and living on the Space Coast, what is that thing for you?
Well, that's easy, actually. I think it's palm trees. Because I remember I moved down here in 2015 from New Jersey, and I opened up a comic book shop in Vieira, and I remember every day going to work and looking at palm trees, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And still to this day, whenever I'm driving, I look and I see a palm tree and I smile. It's palm trees never get old to me. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it just reminds me that every time I see a palm tree, I live in paradise.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. All right. So, Peter, if anybody wants to get in touch with you to talk about listing their property, buying a property, or just pick your brain a little bit more about real estate, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
You can call or text me at 321-294-7070 or email me at peter.pappas@compass.com or stop by our office. We're right next to Apocalypse Coffee, and I'm here quite a bit on US 1. And of course, if you're going to buy, we're going to talk to Nate first, too, so we can see, come up with a game plan and see what you can afford and get pre-approved. And then from there, we'll work together as a great team.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right, Peter, take care. And I appreciate your time today, my friend.
Thank you, Nate. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.